It is 2:15. Call the meeting to order and have pledge of allegiance. First item. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a quorum present with Director Chris Zeig absent. Move on to public comment. Is there anybody that has a public comment on non-agenda items?
And we did not receive any.
Public comment on agenda items. I have one here, Ms. Paulina Williams.
You need to be in a particular spot.
No? Go ahead.
I'll thank you all. Paulina Williams, you know me, speaking for UW Brazos Farm and the Robertson County landowner families that have come together to exercise their private property rights to meet critical regional water supply needs. And we submitted a comment letter yesterday. I do have additional copies of that here if you need it.
They were forwarded, they were sent.
Thank you. And I have copies of our intervention and motion for summary judgment if useful.
They've been forwarded everything.
We ask that this board defend the integrity of its past and final permitting actions consistent with hundreds of years of clear legal precedent and with the plain language of your own rules. The board can and should respect existing property rights and avoid interfering with or taking distinct investment-backed expectations in groundwater permits supporting a project that is years in the making and for which a well drilling program has started, millions of dollars of field and engineering work are in progress, and a chain of reliance has formed. The A&M litigation is not at all about the 7 pending transport permits that will have a hearing before the State Office of Administrative Hearings prior to consideration by this board. It is an improper attempt by Brazos County entities to exploit a minor board composition issue to rewrite history and cause the taking, damaging, and destruction of a select few Robertson County landowners' property rights, but in a manner that puts at risk everyone's property rights. As landowners in Robertson County, we look to this board to respect completed permitting and to carry out its duty to apply its rules even-handedly. We ask you to put yourself in the shoes of permittees who came to this district in good faith and complied with your rules and completed a process and hold those permits in hand today. And we ask that this board direct action to shut down A&M and the city's invitation to disregard clear law and to take damage and destroy established property rights. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wish to speak on agenda items? All right. Hearing none, moving on to item number 1. Discussion and possible action on the minutes of the October 10th, 2024 public permit hearing and regular board meeting.
In your packet and also online have been the minutes from the, we had a public permit hearing and regular board meeting on October 10th. Hopefully you've been able to review those, and if you have any additions or corrections to those, I would certainly entertain those at this time. And if not, I would ask that you approve these as presented.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve it. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, financial report.
All right, beginning, get to it. All right, so for the month of October, we had total deposits of $122,513.68. That sounds like a larger than number than normal. UW Brazos Valley did deposit to the district, which we then put into the bank account, $45,000, which is the amount that SOA anticipated needing for their hearing process. So we're guardians of the 45,000. We'll be making any payments to SOA as we move forward and keeping an account of those payments. Okay?
And that I think will be paid once transferred, once docketing has been submitted, docketing has been accepted, it is pending there. And so I think once all of that gets assigned, then they will accept the money and tell us how to transfer.
Next page, going on to the balance sheet. We have a total in current assets, which would be your checking and your CDs, as of October 31 of $1,236,035.02. Total current assets at $1,676,496.46. Our liabilities and our equities, equity balance is out at that same 1.676. Then off into our budget expenditures. Total income through October, $779,590.22, which is inclusive of the $45,000 that we've just that we're just caretakers of. So not really income, but certainly had to go into the income column. And then moving on down to our total expenses for through October is $891,042.30, and we have spent of budgeted amounts at about 103%. Most of that excess is in our hydrogeology and in legal fees, and as a result of the SOA issues and also litigation matters that we've been involved in as far as trying to help with the negotiations and settlement. Moving on then to our collateralization report. You can see that our weighted average maturity date is at 91 days. Total amount of CDs as a percent of portfolio is approaching 60, is right at 65%. Cash is 35%. And on our collateralization levels at the two banks that were required, which is Prosperity Bank is at 141%, and South Star is at 175%. There are those in a little bigger font, as you can see. And here are our expenses for the month, and you can see AGS, Advanced Groundwater Solutions, that was at just north of $26,000. Our Lloyd Gosselink fees for this month were only $11,000. I say only because that's dramatically lower than it was the previous month. Monique was at 15,000. So you can see that those are the numbers that have driven things up, and simply things that are not really within our control at this point. It is what it is, and we react and move on. So, and then as far as our well assistance fund, it currently is at $53,290.42. You can see that we have one of the expenditures, and this would have been in addition to the $26,000, was $8,057.50 to Advanced Groundwater Solutions. I will say, for the public to know, we have clearly, through this whole process, there's been a lot of money that's been spent on our groundwater science and our modeling work, but we've clearly earned the respect of everybody in the room. We have not been, and it's been in these negotiations, we have not been challenged yet on anything that we've done or how we've gone about it. So I'm going to say that we've set the bar really high, and that has been a secondary, but a really good thing that's actually come out of this, okay? Any questions on the financial report? If not, I'd ask you to approve the financial report as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, presentation and discussion of the draft 2025 district operating and capital budget.
I'm not gonna spend, unless y'all want me to spend a lot of time on this, we just spent nearly 2 hours on in our budget workshop, our fees workshop, where we might be wanting to go in this budget year. There's 2 different what directions to go. Again, this is more for the public at this point, is kind of stay where we are and probably add a couple of staff members because of increased workload, or full-blown into, we've got mitigation coming, it's right around the corner, we need to be gearing up. So we looked at all of that, knowing that we still have litigation facing the district. We also have the SOA hearings, that type of thing facing the district. So we're gonna continue to have high hydrogeologic costs, and we're gonna have high attorney fees costs. So I think we've done a good job of vetting that. Let the public see some of the slides of our overall financial position is there. The way that we determine our revenue for the coming year is based on the top 16 producers of water, and we take the last year of their production beginning in September of the previous year, so 2023, and through August 31st of 2024, that being the 12-month period. And year in and year out, it's been very, very close as to how much revenue we would anticipate to be raised. So it's always been within less than 10% off. So anyway, so that's how we came up with the $784,000 that we would anticipate from fees. And of course, reviewed the board with where our current fee structures are on the left. On the right is the maximum amount of fees that can be charged: agricultural, steam, electric, municipal rural water supply, industrial, commercial, and export. Okay, they were fully filled in on that. And then we went through or category by category of where things were going to increase or suggested increases and decreases, down to the point of we're currently budgeted at $883,000 in round numbers. And if we were to go full blown with a mitigation manager, all staff, we'd be looking at about 1.4 million. So a lot of discussion here among the board during the budget fee meeting, that we probably will be paring some of this back. We didn't come to any decisions, and it was not the purpose of the meeting to come to any final decisions. It was to have a good round the table talk about how we need to be moving forward. I'll say that this is something that will definitely be on the December meeting, and that we need to be prepared to try and come up with what that budget will be and how we'll go about funding it. So I would urge everybody, from what we went through today, is to try to wrap your head around where you would go. Please let me know. I'm going to meet with Lisa probably next week. We'll go through and we're going to probably do some of the paring down, and then try to get any suggestions that we may have already gotten or that we will get, and try to come up with something that makes sense for the December meeting. Does that sound all right with everyone? Okay. Okay.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Item number 4, discussion of the FY 2025 water production, export, and administrative fee schedules.
So again, we talked about how would we raise revenue. We are going to be about $250,000 deficit for this fiscal year, primarily from hydrogeologic and from legal fees. That doesn't mean that we're going in the hole. It means we're working into reserves. Okay, so everybody knows we're in good financial position. We just need to, if we're gonna have a balanced budget or near balanced budget, then we're gonna have to come up with a source of revenue to try to offset that $250,000 or whatever it might be. And that's without a mitigation manager, those kind of things, okay? That's where we are today because of the situation we didn't ask for, but that we're in, okay? This is under the current export, we looked at, okay, water production fees and export fees, because that's something y'all will be setting that you gotta set every single year. And currently, water export fees are set at 20 cents per 1,000 gallons exported. And as you can see in the red letters for the public, we won't be having any, as we have never had, I'll say that. We've always set an export fee, but we've never had an export. So therefore, no fees have ever been raised because of export. Okay, so I'm simply saying no fees will be collected on that fee structure in the near future. Okay, that's under the current fees. We have now entertained going back to this. That's under the 2024 system is under the new law that was passed, new statute that was passed in the last session. It is our current rule 9.1C2, okay? What we're now looking at and proposing is to use the Enabling Act language, which would then, that's where we've been up until last year, and that capped us at 17 cents per 1,000 gallons for a combination of water production fees and export fees. So
With a 3% inflation, right?
Do what?
With a 3% inflation rate.
That's right, and we could each year go up three, but you could never, you can't exceed 17.
I'll look.
That's the cap, but the 3% is the fees themselves can be.
The 4 1/4, the 3%
That's
applied to the 4
correct.
1/4
That
initial
is
production
correct.
fee.
That's
That's
right.
correct.
So under this structure, if you were to take that today, you would go water production fees. The highest water production fee is 4.875 cents per 1,000 gallons. You'd subtract that from 17 cents, which is the cap, and you could set your export fee at 12.125 cents per 1,000 gallons. Our Enabling Act allows us to do it a couple of ways. One is on actual water produced, which is what we do now on any of these metered wells. It's your water production based on actual production. You could have set any of these on authorized amounts, which is how much is on the permit, which is what we do down in the alluvium. This isn't anything new. We allow an alluvium to either do it by authorized amounts or metered amounts. So this is not novel. It is.
And Potomac Savannah
standard.
has the same Enabling Act, and that's how they've been charging the
Right.
permitted amount on the export fee at the 12 cents. That's what Vista Ridge has been paying all along.
Yeah, so there was good discussion about that during the budget and fee meeting. Yes, Jason.
How many transport permits with authorized amounts do we have now?
As far as I know, we don't have any.
We
Is
have
that
one
correct?
that's in litigation, subject
But they're all
to the
in.
applications in
They're all-
litigation.
They're all in litigation.
So 0.
They're all, yes.
Legal limbo,
Legal
Legal
limbo.
limbo.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? I think that's all that you knew on that. And then, so we're playing with it, we're toying with the idea of going to a hybrid fee structure, which would be that the water production fees would remain as a actual amount that you produce, as it remains today, as it is today. And then an export fees would be based on total authorized permitted amounts and set at the highest rate of the permitted, highest rate of permitted beneficial use. So if it was had a multi uses, then it would be set on either municipal or whatever that highest rate was. And then the export fees would revert to the state maximum, the Rule 9.1C2, once production and transport of water begins. So this would only be the enabling act language would only be used up and until the time of the transport permit began to produce, to move water. And export fees based on authorized amounts are only applicable to transport permits that are permitted but not transporting water. Okay, that's what's being thought about. For the public, everybody just needs to understand that they're looking to how do we raise the revenue in order to cover some of the deficits that we really not out of our control, they're out of our control right now. You guys got any questions? Okay, we also looked at the Well Assistance Fund as it's set up today and money moving into the Well Assistance Fund and based on what we best know as far as ramp ups are concerned, that type of thing. Out on this case, it's out to 2043. I went all the way out to the end, but through 2043, you can see that the Well Assistance Fund would bring in about $54 million, but it's not about where it is at the end. It is more about the money. When does it start? Because once mitigation is going to be needed, that money is going to be needed quickly and right up at that time. So not looking at the numbers down in 2043, looking at the numbers in 2029 and what's been available and when was it available. When you look on the right-hand side, that is a rendition of the Enabling Act, the hybrid, using Enabling Act for the first 4 years. And in this case, we're looking at, okay, there's going to be some transport in 2029. We don't know that. We're just making that assumption. And you can see it brings in, on a 50,000 acre foot permit, it brings in about nearly $2 million. But that begins in 2025. So you got 2025, 26, 27, 28, that you've brought in $8 million to be able to mitigate. Because we're looking now at what I've had James and Chris at AGS to look and tell me when and how many wells are we looking at having to re-drill or lower pumps on and upsize pumps between now or by 2029. Okay, and we got 76 wells that, other than the Calvert well, which we've already started on up there as far as design and permitting, but 76 wells are going to have to be re-drilled, and we've got 116 that we got pumps that are going to have to be lowered and or upsized, and we're looking at about a $9 million tab on that. From the best we can tell, that's the best draft that we have right now. We spent a lot of time on that, so you can tell. The one thing that I've promised, guys, I've promised all of these people out here that have these wells, and whether they're out here in the bottom, whether they're out by Kathy, I believe I promised Kathy, as a matter of fact. You're gonna not ever know that anything ever happened, because we're gonna have already mitigated that before it ever happens. And so.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
You make the lawyer nervous.
That's the goal. So, anyway, anybody got any?
Gotta have a little wiggle room there.
Gotta have the little bit. Let's see if there was anything. We looked at a couple of other ways. There are those that are not permitted. There are wells that are not producing but are permitted, and so therefore they're paying no fees on the book, sitting there, drill well sitting there. I was asked to look at if we begin to charge them some portion of the total budget, let's model that down. And that's what this was. And I'm not going to say that's a dead thing at all. It is, but it's certainly interesting, say the least. And then there was the thought that as we did last year, the board raised fees like on not agriculture, on the municipal rural water supply, those high-end ones, 1/4 cent across the board. And so what I did was to do the very same thing and add the column on the left is adding 1/4 cent. The middle column is 1/2 cent, and the column on the right was adding 1 cent. It raised on 2023, 2024 production, it raised about $75 million. 1/4 cent raises about $75,000. That's what it did. You wanted me to say million. And I almost-
You did, you started
I know
to.
I did.
My eyes was getting
I
big.
know, there you go, big eye. So 1/4 cent brings in about $75,000. This does not cover the shortfall that we're already looking at, but it will certainly offset and would not have to get into reserves as badly, okay? Any questions, guys? I know y'all had a lot of questions earlier, but, okay. I think that's all I got.
Any
Unless y'all got
questions from the board?
questions.
You got sufficient direction earlier to bring something back in December?
We're going to?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action on entering into a contract with Goodwin Lassiter Strong regarding engineering services associated with the combining of the H&R Block property and the district office.
All right, so GLS went back to, they sent us a scope of work. I spoke with Mark and Jason and Jeff. Has decided we needed to go back to them and get them to give us a not to exceed and what they believe as far as their service is concerned and exactly what will you do for us. They did send back right here. This is a design and administration of project is what they intend to do. Help us with the bidding process, do follow through on those kinds of things. That it is a not to exceed $10,000. And I know we haven't discussed this at all, but any deeper than that, but it seems very reasonable. The thing that and then I'll let y'all hang on back. Let me go back. Oh, wrong way there, excuse me. Wrong direction. Right here, those questions. So what I'd like to do is get some direction and then ask you if you'd like to enter into a contract with them, but do we want to move forward? Okay, this project is adding and giving access to the H&R Block property and bringing it into our complex, okay? So one, I want to make sure that does the board want to move forward with that? We own the property. Do we want to move forward with that? And if so, on what timeline? When do we want to start immediately? Do we want to push it back, I will say the following as to timeline. As far as I'm concerned, I did tell our tenant that they asked very nicely, please, if we're gonna get the 30-day notices, we gotta give them a 30-day notice, is please don't do it right when our tax season starts, which is basically January 1 is their big time from there through the mid-May. And because they're gonna have to pick up and move and do those kinds of things. I said, I won't do it during that time, just won't do it. So if we're gonna do it anytime in the very near future, then I need to get direction from y'all so that I can give them their 30-day notice and give them time to go before January the 1st. If not, then we need to wait. Our contract with them runs out July the 31st. Okay, so that's another question I'd like y'all to talk about and give me some direction on. And the other was, will the budget allow for the project to move forward in the coming fiscal year?
So if we execute this agreement with the architect, can that be done while we have tenants next door?
I absolutely, we can do that. As far as them going in, measuring it out, doing a drawing, those kind of things, yes, that's not a problem. They're only open 1 day a week over there right now. They could go ahead and move in, get in there and do those kinds of things they need to do. They've already been in there once. They know what it looks like. They didn't get any great detail about it, but yes.
Did Goodwin Laster give you some tentative timeframes on when they could have the design done?
They did not.
Okay.
They have not.
How about a fee schedule?
They have a fee schedule. They sent that with the original scope of work about what all those things were. So I don't think we won't be surprised in things. I see them right now as being, let's get this thing designed. You got it, because if we're gonna bid it out, and I did, so everyone knows, spoke with the committee, and it is, we'll basically put the thing out for bids for construction companies. They're not, I mean, GLS isn't gonna do that. They're not gonna be supervising anything else other than what little bit they've said they'll do in their not to exceed. We'll basically be making sure it happens.
So specifically, what are we planning to do with that space? I mean, I know the electrical needs to be moved, because the electrical is and then the Panetta building needs to be swapped over.
Correct.
Outside of that, what are we doing? What's your vision of what the space is gonna look like when we're done?
I see there's 2 offices over there.
Currently?
No, there will be.
Oh, will
I'm saying
be.
that's what and even, okay, and this is based on our need in the future, okay? Not just staff wise. There's two full-time people over there, and I think there's still gonna be enough room that there could be a staff, an office staff over there also, meaning just a,
Workstation.
yes, correct,
So that staff is tied to the mitigation
correct.
primarily?
Yep, and then you got the bathroom and some storage over there. That also, I'm thinking, could be used as the place for executive session. If we do this right over there to where y'all can adjourn to there, be done, and let everyone else stay right in here. So that's what I foresee.
I'm good moving forward with the design. I don't necessarily need the immediate need for it. So I mean, I think I'm good with letting the tax people stay until the end of their lease, and then we can make preparations to bid and
Yeah.
do the modifications.
Just so I understand, their lease is through July, but they have a 30-day notice.
Yeah, if I need to get them out, I've got to give them a 30-day notice. But
But you can tell them now that we don't intend to renew the lease, and they need to find another space, and now they got 6 months or
Yeah.
whatever.
And that's where just from our conversation earlier and budget meeting, that kind of thing, I think that's exactly the right thing to do.
And GLS is also gonna look at this back wall, right, to see
They
what
are.
they can do
They
to
are gonna
waterproof
look
that
at
or
it.
whatever it would
Now,
be.
and to bring everybody up to speed on that, I've had three different ones to come and look at the wall and tell me what's that gonna cost to make the repairs, okay? I had one that came in and me said $40,000 at least, and I don't have to have a job, got plenty of work. Okay, that was the first one. So I'm gonna make my $40,000 here, I'm gonna make it over there. I don't really care, basically. The second one was $17,000 and he had no insurance. And was upfront about it. I don't have insurance. And then the other one was about $10,000 and at the end of that, I just kind of put that on hold for a second because there's a lot of other things going.
But he has insurance, correct?
I didn't, I've got to get back to him and ask, but according to what I heard you say, he probably does because just the people that he works for. So at this point, with all that was on the plate, I just put it on hold for just a second.
Any other thoughts from the board? Does that work?
So you need a motion to enter into the contract with GLS.
Yeah.
And wait until the lease expires with the H-Star Block. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Item number 6, discussion and possible action to approve an interlocal agreement with all GMA 12 member districts to share in expenses incurred involving joint management planning and surrounding the adoption of the 2026 desired future conditions.
At the last GMA meeting, there was some discussion. It was pretty light discussion about how we were going to do the cost sharing. I shared with them that we would go up to 33%, anywhere from 4%
It's a
up
lost
to
time, stuck him
33%.
through that.
I'm not sure whether, I know how they came to 30%. I just don't know exactly how they got the 30 and everybody else. But
So why,
we'll have a
if
conversation.
if they approve this, say up to 33%, so that if we negotiate it where it's all 32% lost times, and that, just for a point of,
Why isn't it 30, 35, 5? 30, 30, 35, 5.
well, Fayette and Mideast, Texas, they don't benefit from us. I
They
mean,
don't.
Fayette does, I represent
How much
Fayette, they don't
difference
even
does it
have, they don't
Percent of
have
budget,
Simsboro.
They have very, especially Mideast, Texas, very limited, but that's about what they've been. Where this all came down, we kind of got back to, it's worked before, like we've done it, and we and Lost Pines and Post Oak Savannah had been sharing basically an even amount and letting Fayette and letting Mideast, Texas kick in what they could.
What were those percentages?
And it was about that number.
Okay.
So I think that's,
So all of the modeling on Cruiser Wilcox Simsboro doesn't benefit Fayette at all.
No, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, to me, the top 3 ought to be the same. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I said, let's approve it up to 33, and then he can say, no, let's do 32.
with the top 3 being
Shorter.
equal.
yes. So, I mean, I definitely would, we just got this week. I don't know if Yuri put it on his agenda night before last or not. I'm guessing he probably did. I don't know if Lost Pines, I'm guessing that this is going to be on the December 13th
GMA.
GMA meeting. And so I'd recommend that you give us, yes, we entered into that interlocal agreement. You'd already given us authority to enter into one, but with something that's similar to this and an up to number. I think what you're saying is correct.
But you would like to see it equal,
What's that?
but you would like to see it equal among them.
I would like to see it equal among the big 3, I would call it.
You mean the board as a whole?
Well,
Yes.
me personally.
Yeah.
If the board wishes to make that motion and approve it, then I'm good with that, but. So I entertain a motion on the funding of the GMA 12 update.
So we don't know quite how this works, but so since it was our turn to do most of the work, we were already planning with James Beach, the one doing the modeling and the report that'll be submitted to our own board and approved, that, so I guess we will be then being reimbursed for,
I believe that will be the case.
but that doesn't show up in your budgeting.
That is correct.
So that expense for the GMA 12 update, is it the expense in your budget?
It's in James Beach's.
I know, but is it in the district's budget that you proposed for 25?
Yeah,
That's
so you may
correct,
be
it
getting
is.
credited back some of
So,
that.
but you didn't have the income coming back from the other
No,
four
no,
entities in there?
this was just our portion.
Okay.
I'd make a motion, we go back and with,
Renegotiate.
make the top three the same.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will.
We're going to skip the executive session 7, 8, and 9 and move to the general manager's report.
Temporarily skip.
Temporarily.
Okay, drought monitoring report. You have had some rain since the last time that we've met, but you can see that we're still in a drought level 1. And this was a really interesting slide. It just turned brown. It was like, not only are you going to have been in a drought, but guess what? We think it's gonna last. So, I don't know, we'll see.
So what's the outlook? How far out are we looking?
This, right now, that's out till
February.
January 31st, and then I saw long-term stuff last night, and they got the La Nina thing all the way into the summertime. So, with high levels of cold water down in the equatorial Pacific. So it's not looking particularly good. That, of
So
course,
we'll be pumping lots of water.
unlike last year. But, all right, and here is your permitted wells and numbers and bioaquifer and total production year by year. No GM permitted wells during the month of October. Management zone, John's been able to get back on. He finally finished up on the vast majority of the monitoring wells for all of our major aquifers, and was able to get back on to identifying wells that are subject to mitigation, and that was sometime in the early part of November. I think it's about the 5th. So I'm glad to be back on, yeah, it's no, on the 5th. Glad to be back on that. We work in the area up there to the north and west of the Luminant mine, Luminant power plant, Oak Grove Management up there. And then we're gonna be working all the way back over toward Bremond and in between in that area. So just trying to find everybody to and verify them. GMA planning, won't go into any detail here other than to say we will be having a December 13th GMA meeting in Milano. And I think we've talked about pretty much everything else that I had on that report. Let's see what's of interest here. Oh, I do need to, everyone should know here under upcoming meetings, we and Post Oak Savannah and Blue Bonnet Groundwater District, which is Grimes and Walker and down that way. But they have Brazos River. We are hosting a Bringing the Brazos Together workshop on the 9th day of December. Starts at 8 o'clock. It'll last till 2 o'clock. It's a JRG Farms headquarters, which is at the intersection of FM 50 and FM 60. Just would be, what would that be? East of Snook, west of Snook and east of the river? Does
East of
that
Snook.
sound right, Mark?
East of
West of the river. and
West of River.
West of the river,
East.
east, that's right, and east. Anyway,
Any charge for that?
there is no charge. Gonna have a free lunch.
Free.
Our objective there is to get everybody in the room that has alluvial assets and has a stake in the river. And that means us contacting, Cynthia's been contacting, John's been contacting, I've been contacting people that we know that either own or they're tenants, that we're gonna get them all there. We're gonna get all of our people in the room, because Dow's gonna be there. We've got, Brazos River Authority's gonna be there, Gulf Coast Water Authority's gonna be there. Environmental Defense Fund's gonna be there, Farm Bureau's gonna be there. We're all gonna get in a room, we're gonna talk. And at the end of the day, my objective in all this is, you may not agree on all the things that are said, but at least you can walk away from the fact that I can call David Collinsworth at BRA. I've heard y'all are doing this. I need you to tell me, because you said you'd be truthful with me. You said you'd be honest with me. We're not doing those things. I need to hear it from the horse's mouth. And I think we can accomplish that. Anyway, I think it's going to be one well-attended. I think we put 3 panels together. We have a science panel that we're going to talk about. We have a regulatory panel. They're going to see, who's regulating and whose water is it that's underneath this. Yes.
The Brazos River Master can do that?
Not the river master.
You're not gonna be there?
I'm not, unless they're invited. I mean, they're not going to be on a panel or anything.
No,
But
do they know what's happening?
they should, because their people are, their guy, the Brazos River Authority should, I would think that they would know about it.
Okay.
I'll make sure they do. I can sure do that. Because we're the ones that are really reaching out and making sure specific people are being invited, okay? We feel it's just really important that the players are in the room. So that's a good thought. Let's see, what else? And there is, of course, and it's online for everybody, our update on our, through October on the management plan. So any questions on any of the general manager's report?
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Going back to item number 7, executive session. Under Texas Government Code 551071, to receive attorney-client privileged information regarding 1, pending transport permit applications for groundwater from the Sunboro Aquifer, for RH2O, for Clifford Skiles, for James C. Bryan, for L. Weiss Moore, for Pizzino Investments, for the Eli Family Partnership, and for Pula de Brazos LLC, all of whom are co-applicants with UW Brazos Valley Farm, ongoing settlement discussions, and related mediation by the State Office of Administrative Hearings as required by District Board Order Number 1. Next item would be pending writ of mandamus filed by the Texas A&M University System in Brazos County District Court, and related petitions for interventions and declaratory judgment. And the last item would be water production, export, and administrative fees. At this time, the board will convene into executive session.